Families and Communities. Laura, can I just pass over yourself?
Thank you. I'll start by taking the roll call. Convener Hunter.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Councillor Anderson.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor Black.
I'm here.
Lord Provost Campbell.
Present.
Deputy Lord Provost Cordell.
Present.
Bailey Dawson.
I'm here.
Councillor El Nakla.
Hi, I'm present.
Councillor Flynn.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor Lynn.
Present.
Councillor Mills.
I am here.
Councillor Rome. Bailey Soares.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Short.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor Smith.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor Toland.
Hiya, Toland. Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Keenan.
Present.
Councillor Cruikshank.
Present.
Councillor Finnegan.
Present.
Councillor McHugh.
Present.
Councillor McCurvin.
Present.
Councillor Scullen.
Evening, I'm here.
Councillor Shears.
Evening, I'm here.
Bailey Wright.
Present.
Bailey McPherson.
Good evening, present.
Councillor Coleman.
Good evening.
Councillor Crichton.
I'm here.
Councillor Duncan.
Here.
Bailey Roberts.
I'm here.
Bailey Scott.
Here.
Mrs. McVean. Mrs. Little.
Present.
Mr. Gibson.
Here.
Miss Barclay.
I'm here.
Mrs. Javid. Mr. Anderson McGuinness.
Present.
And Miss Mayor.
I'm here.
And that completes the roll call. It appears that we are having some IT issues.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I can see in the chat that a number of you are having issues hearing. Councillor Rome, I see you've got your hand up, so I'll bring you in first, and then I will check what's happening with the IT.
No, thank you, Convener. It was just to confirm that I'm here. I had some issues, but it was on my end, and that's fixed now. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I think Laura will note that. So I just want to check how many are able to hear us okay, or is there any issues that we have moving forward? It seems moving online completely hasn't fixed all our IT issues. So somebody put their hand up there, it's gone down again, I didn't catch who that was. So can I just have some indication that are we okay to just continue? Because I don't want MD to feel that they can't participate in the meeting. Indicate they can hear okay. If there's any issues, just indicate in the chat and we'll try and resolve that. But I think it's probably best just to crack on, and then if there's any issues, then we can deal with it as we go. So, Laura, can we just move on with the agenda, please? Okay, I can see that Councillor McHugh's got no sound, so we'll try and crack on, and we'll see if there's going to cause any issues going forward. I don't know, Councillor McHugh, if you want to leave the meeting and rejoin, and that might just fix it. That's the usual answer to these kind of issues. So yeah, I'm seeing somebody. So Dorothy, you might just want to log out and come back in. That seems to might be what's going to fix it. But Laura, can we move on with the agenda, please?
Yes, so the first item is declarations of interest. Do any members have any declarations?
Okay. Not seeing any indications. Okay.
No. Moving to item 2, pupil representation on Children, Families and Communities Committee. Committee is asked to approve the appointment.
Okay. So first of all, we're all happy to approve the appointment? Yes, and so then to say welcome to I think it was Lily for your first meeting. I apologise that it's online and not in person as we usually try to do, but always happy to hear the pupil's voice. So please feel free to give your views over at the right time when that comes up. But welcome to your first meeting, and I hope you enjoy being on the committee. And I'm sure once we get to see you in person, we'll be able to meet formally and introduce ourselves much better that way. But welcome to the meeting. Okay, with that, Laura, can we move on?
Yes, thank you. That brings us to item 3, Scottish Qualifications Authority SQA 2025 exam results, and this is for noting.
Okay, so I think the first person with a question is Councillor Cruikshank. So Georgia, I'll pass over to yourself.
Thanks very much, Convener. Whilst I welcome this report, and it's good to see that the improvements across specific measures in S4, S5 and S6. I note that in section 6.3 that there are plans to look at each subject area. Can you tell us what will you do with that information to improve the subject results across all schools? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And of course, that's something that the department of schools do every year, going to really go into the detail of all the results. But I think Mr. Fleming's on the call. So Paul, can I ask you to respond to that?
Thank you, Convener, and thank you, Councillor Cruikshank, for the comments and question. The Convener is right insofar as every individual secondary school will have analysed the results in detail. Those results, as the paper references, are interim as we see about appeals, but also as we input college data and other partners' data that goes into that. But they'll look at those and they will set that will inform their improvement plan at individual level. But we also analyse that city to look at key themes such as the strengths of particular subjects as part of every Dundee Learner Matters to roll out that excellent practice and make sure that teachers are learning from each other. So this year we're reimagining our subject networks to collaborative improvement networks where PTs, heads of faculty, and other practitioners work together across the city and subjects to learn about excellent practice and the impact on attainment. And that is moderated and supported by the quality improvement team in the centre. So we use that to inform our annual education plan as well at the centre. Thank you.
Okay, Georgia, you happy with that response?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Coleman, I see you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Convener. There are many positives in this report, and I and my group, and I'm sure we all do, congratulate all pupils for their successes in the recent exams, and many thanks go to all teaching staff for all they do in preparing pupils for this examination success. I note in 6.1 that officers are currently undergoing a full analysis of pre-appeal results, and a full report on attainment and achievement of people in the senior phase will be forthcoming. However, can I please ask if there is any initial feedback as yet on if there has been a narrowing of the attainment gap, as seeing progress on closing the attainment gap as a real priority, as I'm sure we will all agree.
Yeah, no, and first of all, thank you for your words about the teaching staff. They have done an amazing job to support our young people this year. So I think that should be noted too from all the committee to our staff for the good job that they've done in supporting our young people. But Mr. Fleming, I'll pass it to you to respond to the question.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you very much, Councillor Coleman, for your comments and indeed your question. Very important question. I'll give too much away just now, but what I will say is that the Insight, which is our benchmarking tool, the national tool, should update all of our attainment at the end of September, and we'll continue analysis and return then as soon as possible to committee with full details. What I would say is we're seeing, again, really strengthening of results at S4 in particular. So again, showing the impact of those interventions that individual schools and practitioners have put in, as well as service level ones. And what we are again showing in some of the early data is that those young people who stay in our schools, so when we compare S5 versus S5, if you like, nationally, and S6 versus S6, they get a good deal in terms of their outcomes as well. But I look forward to providing a full report for you in due course.
Okay, you happy with that, Councillor Coleman?
Yes, thank you very much. I look forward to the report.
Okay, Councillor Flynn, I see you have a comment.
Yeah, thanks very much for giving. I'm just following on from your own comments and Daniel's. I think it's a great success for the students themselves. I'd like to congratulate every single one of them. but also remind everyone that they've got the opportunity and the support networks out there if they need any support. They're going forward with whatever route they plan to take. I'd also like to take the opportunity, as you did yourself, Convener, to thank the teachers as well, because I think the teachers have done a great job in making sure that our pupils reach their levels and reach their achievements as best they can. And I think if Mr. Fleming and Ms. May can actually pass that back to the teachers, I think that would be really welcome from committee.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll happy to see Mr. Fleming nodding, so thank you for that. Billy Scott.
Thanks, Convener. Of course, I add my congratulations to all the city's young people for all they've achieved in their examinations this year. But my question is in respect of those who weren't presented for awards. And take, for instance, in S5, the cohort was 1,281, yet only 1,028 sat at awards. So that meant 253 weren't presented for awards. I just wondered what was happening in those cases and what the outcomes are for those young people and what support they've been given.
Okay, again, I'll just pass over to Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Convener. Thank you, Bailey Scott. I'm pleased to highlight that. It shows the complexity of attainment and achievement in the senior phase. The SQA is just one part of attainment, so not all young people will sit exams. For example, in your own area, Grove Academy had 136 people who got an award at a different centre, and that was the college, and that's not in our results, so that feeds in afterwards. And also some young people do wider SCQFs, so Scottish Qualification Awards, that aren't actual exams, and that will be highlighted in the September update when we come back to committee of those different types of attainment. So hopefully that helps for now answer that question. Thank you.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I don't see anybody else wishing to come in, so can this report be agreed? Okay, thank you. Okay, Laura.
Thank you. Item 4, follow-up school leaver destinations, and this is for noting.
Okay. Councillor Cruikshank, I think you just beat Bill McPherson there, so Councillor Cruikshank, I'll pass on yourself.
Thank you, Convener. This report shows some areas of improvement and areas where progress is not so positive. At this stage, in session 2025-26, with the next steps implemented, as described in section 6, can we predict better results next year? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'll just pass over to Mr. Fleming again.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you, Councillor Cruikshank. Certainly, our data gathering is showing an improvement overall. As part of this, one of the key things is recording and making sure that we have eyes on young people and know where they are in terms of 16 to 19-year age bracket. So we've seen a significant improvement in Dundee in terms of the unconfirmed, and that means we know where these young people are, and that's a starting point for making sure when we know where these young people are, their interests and strengths, of actually doing something about that. We're expecting at the moment, in terms of the annual participation measure, we increased by 0.8%. So you'll be aware from different conversations that there's different ways of looking at participation rates, but this is the key priority. We work very closely with our colleagues in city development, other partners, and we are confident of an improvement in this over the medium and long term.
Okay, you happy with that response, Councillor Cruikshank?
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, Billy McPherson.
Thanks, Convener. There's a lot of very useful information in this report, for which I'm grateful. I have a query regarding some of the information, or rather lack of information, at 5.5, where it gives the percentage of school leavers in each destination type and compares the quintiles. Now, we've seen over the years, if we go back to 2019-20, the difference between quintile 1 and 5 was 7%. It dropped just marginally in 22-23 to 6%. This year, there's just a gap, a blank under quintile 5 in 23-24. And in very small type at the bottom, it says, Dundee quintile 5 figures for 23-24 were not published to protect against the risk of disclosing personal information. Now, I think the percentage is very useful information because it gives us an indication as to the gap between quintiles 1 and 5. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I cannot for the life of me see why publishing a simple percentage would in any way compromise personal information. So I really just can't see why that is blank, and perhaps officers can give us a little bit of information regarding that, because I would really like to know what that percentage actually is.
Okay, I'll pass over to Mr. Fleming to respond to you.
Thanks, Kavira. Thank you, Billy McPherson, for your question, which is a question that myself and Miss May had when we saw the published data as well, because this has not happened before. It is a Scottish government. I'm not a statistician, but it is there in terms of that quality data work. It is basically a rule that if the number is below a certain amount, that they do not publish for the reasons. That's the exact wording on the report. It probably does highlight the very small numbers we have in quintile 5 when it comes to this particular measure, and therefore sometimes the percentages, whilst can be very helpful, can skew that because of the very low numbers. But we agree, and we've asked with Scottish Government, and that is the information that has come to us. What I would say on the back of that is when we see our Insight update in September, that's our data, and we will be able to give you further information which highlights any gaps in relation to destinations when the Insight benchmarking data is updated at the end of September when we come back with our report to committee.
Okay, Bill, are you happy with that?
Well, I don't think I'm very happy with the Scottish Government's position, which is quite frankly slightly ridiculous. I absolutely get the point about disclosing personal information, but how could you possibly be disclosing personal information when all you're dealing with is a percentage? That's all we're looking for, and it's an important percentage because we've seen a drop from 90% to 87% in the case of quintile 5, and quintile 1 rather, and therefore knowing what the figure is for quintile 5 is actually really rather important. Now, I understand, it's hardly the officers in Dundee City Council's fault that we're in this position, and I'm grateful to Mr. Fleming for giving us information about the fact that we'll have our own information, which may hopefully give us some further detail of this going forward. So I'll wait to hear if we get a little bit of an update on this once the Dundee City Council information is actually known. Thank you.
No, that's fine. And I don't know, Mr. Fleming, if it's worth sending out to the members of the committee just an explanation of why this has happened. And I don't know if that'd be helpful.
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shears, I see you have a question.
Thanks very much. And this kind of links into that. It might help Bailey McPherson at 5.8. It says that we can infer that less than 5 were not in positive destinations, which would mean at least 98% were, which would then put the gap up to 11 points, which is a really worrying jump from 5 points at the last report. So I'm hoping officers can give us some insight into why the gap jumped so suddenly. What challenges are we seeing in schools that mean the gap has significantly widened this year?
Okay, Mr. Fleming.
Thank you. One of the, well, as you've highlighted, that the numbers or percentages have been shown in previous years, and when we're dealing with really, really small numbers, it can absolutely skew the percentage and in terms of the gap. What I would say is that the focused work with the approved plan, the committee approved around the sustained destinations for Dundee's young people, there is a strong focus on those at risk of missing out. So those young people in quintile 1, 2, and who have also, if you like, other disadvantages too, so additional support needs. That is where the strong focus is on now, and that is where we are seeing improvements, and hopefully that will show in the next report, as I highlighted.
Okay, Councillor Shears, you happy with that response?
Yeah, good to hear that the provisional stuff for this year is looking better. It's just a very worrying sign when it jumps up so high.
Yeah, no, as I said, officers will obviously update once we get that that data. With that, I don't see anybody else wanting to comment. Is this report agreed? Okay, and I think that is Children, Families and Community. So thank you all for attending this evening.
Thank you. So welcome to Neighbourhood Regeneration, Housing and Estate Management. Laura, if you could lead us off, please.
Thank you. Item 1, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations?
I do. I live in Linlaughlin, and it's mentioned in number 4. That's Christina Roberts.
Thank you.
I wonder maybe if Mr. Many could just address item 4.
Thank you very much, Convener. Elected members, item 4 is to be withdrawn.
Thank you. Okay, Laura, back with you, please.
Thanks. That takes us to item 2, tender response for the procurement of supply and delivery of construction materials, and this is for approval.
Okay, I'm just going to open that up to questions. I don't see any, so is that approved? Thank you. Laura, please.
Thank you. Item 3, tenders received by Head of Housing, Construction and Community Services. This is also for approval.
Thank you, Laura. I see Councillor Shears would like to ask a question.
Yeah, thanks very much. I mean, of course, we're not going to divide on it because the work needs done. But what I think would be helpful is if we could get a report or briefing from officers on how £1 million was underestimated. That's a significant jump. It's concerning when we're being asked to find an extra £1 million. So how was this missed? What's the £1 million for? I think some additional information from officers after would be very helpful, so we have a view of how it happened, and hopefully we don't have to be in the same position again.
Okay, thank you. I wonder if Bailey Scott's question is on a similar tack.
Yes, it is, Convener, and it's similar to the question I asked back in May when we had it, when it was first brought in, when we had an earlier report about reactive repairs to roofs rather than cyclical repairs. And the same thing happened last year as well. In the last financial year, in January, we had to add another £1 million into the budget for non-cyclical repairs. And we've not had a tender coming before us for a while now for actually the cyclical repairs that we used to get quite frequently. And I just wondered why the reason is for that, because as I said before, it's far more expensive reacting in this way rather than properly planning it and organising it in a way that's going to be most cost effective. So perhaps you could include that in the answer as well, please.
I'm going to bring in Louise Butchert, who I hope is on the line to answer those questions and to maybe confirm, Louise, whether we can put something around elected members after the committee regarding this matter. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Thank you, Councillor Cardell, and thank you for the questions. I think just to know what we're finding is that based on further inspections and reports coming through our repairs, what we're seeing is a higher number of non-cyclical roofs requiring replacement. So what this report is seeking is approval for the increased budget to be able to respond and undertake those works as they're identified and as they come in. What we're seeing is an increased number year to date. So what this does is gives us the provision to be able to undertake further ones as they arise throughout the year. I'm happy to share further information in terms of what is coming through in terms of our findings. I would just note that some of them we've not yet found, so conscious as we go into the winter period, we do then start seeing an increased number of reports coming through, and what this report, subject to its approval, allows for us is to be able to respond efficiently to undertake the works as they're identified.
You're on mute, Convener.
Apologies, thank you. Hopefully that reply was fine for Councillors Shears and Bailey Scott. And with that, I see no further questions. So is that approved? Thank you. Back to you, Laura, please.
Thank you. As advised, item 4 has been withdrawn from consideration. That takes us to item 5, tenders received by Head of Design and Property, and this is for approval.
Thank you. Councillor Crichton, please.
Thanks, Convener. I just want to say how pleased Bill McPherson and I are at these new steps and the handrails being replaced in Abbotsford Place and being progressed. This, as committee members will know, is an area of sheltered housing, and there has been for some time quite a few front steps in the street that are badly needing replaced. So yeah, we're really grateful for this and really glad that this report is coming forward tonight.
Thank you for those kind words, Councillor Crichton. Bailey Scott, you were looking to come in?
Yeah, it's a question again about the cost, please, convener. There are 54 flats that are covered by these addresses, which works out at £3,851 per flat. Now, presumably, for the those who've bought their flats, the cost will be recovered from them. It does seem quite a lot, 3,851 per flat. And I mean, to buy a pre-cast concrete step, they can pick them up for £100 from a builder's merchant for less than £100. So I wondered where the bulk of this cost comes from.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring in Neil Martin first, and if he does not have the answer, I will try Louise Butcher. Thank you.
Thanks, convener. Thanks for the question. Yeah, I don't have the detail in terms of the breakdown of the tender there, and you're quite right. The precast is one element of the works, and it's just the material price. But we can look at that to provide an explanation to give a bit more of a build up of the full tender for members.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Well, I won't bring Louise in there, as Neil has given that assurance. So with that, is that report approved? Thank you very much. That's the business.
Good evening, and we move on to City Governance. And Veronica, please.
Thank you, convener. Item 1, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations?
So hold off a second just to see if there's any in the chat. Don't see any coming in, so we'll just take that as none and noted. Thank you.
Item 2, Children and Family Service Plan 2023 to 2027. Please note that on page 6 of this report, the figure 61% should read 64%, and this report is for noting.
Thank you. This report provides the City Governance Committee with the second 6-month update on progress with the Children and Families Service Plan 23 to 27, and the committee is asked to agree the recommendations. I'll bring in Bailey McPherson first, please.
Thanks, convener. I'd like to just ask a question around kinship care and those on compulsory supervision orders. I'm really looking at the data on page 16, where it indicates that during early primary school, P1 to 4, both groups, kinship care pupils and those on compulsory supervision orders, attendance was very high, actually, at 90%. But by secondary school, attendance by pupils in kinship care had deteriorated to 73%. And for those on compulsory supervision orders, down to slightly worrying, I have to say, 40%. Now, I'm conscious that this is a service plan and there are actions. So if you look back to page 12, the actions in relation to kinship care seem to be significantly progressed. They are a little bit behind, but they're at 90%. But if I look at what the latest note says, little of that, I think only one of the bullet points would really relate to issues around, that could assist in relation to improved school attendance. So I'd be very grateful if officers could give us some reassurance as to what's being done to try to improve the attendance rate for pupils in kinship care and for those with CSOs.
Thank you. I'll bring in Mrs. May in the first instance and possibly Glyn. Mrs. May?
Yes, thanks, convener, and thanks for the question. I'll probably give a higher level response around attendance in general, if that's okay, and then I'll bring in Glyn Lloyd, who can specifically talk about our children who are in these different care scenarios and talk maybe a wee bit more about what we're doing to support there. But I would want to give assurance to committee that attendance in general, school attendance, is one of our key priorities across the service and indeed features as a key priority in all of our school improvement plans. We also were one of the first local authorities to sign up to the SIPIC work, so the national improvement work with Education Scotland as well, to look at how we can work nationally in targeted areas, in particular when we know that there are some families where this is more of a challenge. So although we've got a long way to go, as quite rightly Bailey McPherson's helping us to see in our plans, I can report that at the end of the session of that improvement work, 30 out of 33 of our primary schools are now on an improving trend of attendance, and 5 out of our now 7 secondary schools also an improvement trend. So 35 out of 40 schools on an improvement trend for attendance. But we're also very aware that poor school attendance can often be symptomatic of wider family issues, and this includes our children who are often in kinship care. So in terms of, just our wider focus, it's much more on partnership work and working in partnership with everyone we can work, especially in our own service with our social work colleagues, but in wider partnerships, really to understand what a whole family might need to be supported to get their children into school, because we're very aware that schools can do so much, and we will continue to have it as a specific target for schools, but some of the wider family issues need to be supported by other partners. So I will ask Lynn to maybe pick up the kinship care aspect of that in particular, convener, if you want to continue that answer.
Yeah, thanks for that, Audrey. Yes, Glenn, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, convener, and thank you again, Bailey McPherson, for the answer, for the question, sorry. And it does link to the priority that we've outlined in paragraph 4.14 of the main body of the report, where we've said the service will prioritise improving school attendance for at-risk groups. And for this group, for those in kinship care, it also links to what we're seeing as more placement instability. Less in primary school, but more in secondary school. So as Audrey says, and as you said, in fact, when you asked the question, we're targeting a range of supports to that particular group. So for instance, they're a priority as part of the What Matters to You initiative. We've enlisted support from clinical psychologists to provide therapeutic support to families. We've introduced functional family therapy to help stabilise home arrangements. We're exploring the possibility of introducing family group decision-making models where at the start of a placement, we bring members of the extended family together to make decisions on how they jointly care for the child over a period of time. So there's a number of things that we've done, a number of things that we're doing, and it remains a key priority for us going forward.
Thanks both for the answers. Billy McPherson, sir.
Yeah, I'm grateful to both Mrs. May and Mr. Lloyd for their responses. I think we would all agree that we would want to see attendance by pupils in kinship care and those on compulsory supervision orders to continue to improve. It would be interesting, actually, I don't want to prolong this tonight, but it might be interesting, aside from tonight's committee, to get some information of the direction of travel. Mrs. May is absolutely correct. There is really good progress on attendance generally across the city, and that is to be greatly welcomed. But, we always say no child left behind. And the point really is that we want to see that continuation of improvement, feed its way through to those pupils who are in kinship care and on compulsory supervision orders, because we want to absolutely ensure, the child who does not attend school does not do as well as the child who does. I think we all know that. So it would be interesting to get some information about the direction of travel in relation to attendance over time. I don't want to prolong it tonight, but I'm grateful to both Mrs. May and Mr. Lloyd for their rather comprehensive responses. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that, and I think it's information that will come in future reports, I'm sure. I see Mrs. May nodding her head, so I take that in agreement. Bailey Keenan, please.
My question was something similar to Bailey McPherson's, and given the answer that we've received from Glenn, it then leads me to sort of an earlier one that I was considering asking, and that's about the number of placements we put people in, because clearly that's having an effect on attainment or attendance, because stability is obviously vital. And when I look at if we've got 400 odd children in care, then the 70% is that there's 100 children missing out of their schools daily. That's quite an alarming number, especially when we tend to read about the more affluent parent that can take a holiday during the term time and take their child out of school. being a big threat to children's education. So, you know, I'd probably like a bit more detail. Happy for officers to come back on that, but I would like an idea of how the strategies that we're putting into place are starting to have a serious effect on reducing that, because it's such a large number.
Thanks for that. Glenn, would you like to come back on that or provide some information later?
Yeah, and thank you, Bailey, and thank you, convener. And I would say to start with, actually, that in terms of the care experienced population as a whole, those in foster care actually have higher attendance rates than the mainstream population. So it's not a care experience issue per se, it's actually a kinship care issue, specifically a kinship care issue. Less so, as we've just said, in primary school, and more so once they go through that transition period into secondary school. We've just listed the range of supports we're putting in place, but happy to perhaps, Bailey Keenan, have an off-table conversation about what more we could perhaps do as well in that regard.
That's great. Thanks very much, Bailey Keenan. Okay, thank you. Councillor McHugh, please.
Thank you. We're told at 4.6 of the report that good progress is being made and the service is confident of full delivery, and that's good to hear. And officers over the last couple of days have kindly responded by email to me on a couple of queries I had on this update, but I remain a little concerned about the latest update under voices on page 6 of the report. The first sentence of the last paragraph indicates that 64% of children and young people either attended or had their views represented. The performance indicator is percentage of child's plans where the voice of children was recorded. From my reading of this section, it does appear that children's voices are included in the percentage recorded total when in fact they have merely attended. Would officers care to comment?
Again, Audrey, would you like to come in or pass it on to Glenn?
I'm happy to try and answer that. Thanks, convener, and thanks, Councillor McHugh. I think it's the nuances around how we're reporting that. We might need to have a look at that and make it a bit clearer for people. But the general approach would be that when we're creating a child's plan or reviewing a child's plan, whether that's for their care and for their education package, the child, we would always want that child, if it was an appropriate set of circumstances, to be present at the meeting. If they're present at the meeting, that's their voice in the room. Now, often they will have some preparation through advocacy or mentoring or buddying. We have lots of different systems whereby we can allow young people to be prepared for that meeting so that they are ready to talk, and if they feel nervous, anxious, whatever, someone there will do the speaking for them or present their words for them. So if a child is in a meeting, a young person is in a meeting, their voice is in the room. However, there are some circumstances where young people do not want to attend these meetings. They find it too challenging. The circumstances that they're in are just, make it just too difficult for them to be there. So again, we will use advocacy, we'll use professionals like their social worker, their guidance teacher, their key worker, depending on the age stage they're at throughout the system, to present their voice. Now, as you can see, at 64%, we want to do more of that. Absolutely want to do more of that, but just now we're trying to use all the technology that we can. We introduced Mind of My Own a few years ago through our Champions Board, and a lot of young people are using that technology to just give us constant feedback, and it's our job as the professionals around that team around the child meeting or that review process for their plans to make sure that's included in any meeting. So if you want more information offline, we could think about a better way to present that to you, but I just want to give assurance that a child's voice should be central in all of their plans.
Yeah, thanks for that reassurance, Audrey. And Dorothy, does that answer your question?
Yes, and thank you, Audrey. I feel a little reassured. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I see no further questions or comments, so we'll take that report as agreed. Thank you. Move on to the next one, Veronica, please.
Thank you. Item number 3, Annual Procurement Report and Community Benefits Update 2024-2025. This report is for noting.
Thank you. Welcome this report. Presents the annual procurement report for the Council, a summary of the procurement activity taken under 24-25, an update of the community wealth building activity and future planned procurement activity. The key procurement activity in 24-25 included total procurement in the region of £378 million, with a local spend within Dundee of around £211 million. That's over 55% of the total spend, with 84.61% of suppliers are committed to paying the real living wage, and nearly 70% of regular contracts include fair work criteria. Community benefits are also considered for all contracts over £100,000. In the reporting period, community benefits included 40 employment opportunities, including 23 new starts, 29 modern apprentices initiated, and 38 work experience placements. And committee is asked to agree the report. Councillor Crichton, please.
Thank you, Convener. Just a question at 4.6 on page 32. It is clear from the table that the percentage of local labour on construction projects has dropped. It has dropped from 85% at 22-23 to 73% at 24-5. Are there any particular reasons for the drop in benefit to our local economy, such as particular specialist tenders with a limited group of contractors? And are officers confident that the financial year will see a higher percentage of local labour and spend on 24/25?
Thank you. I'll bring in Paul Thompson, if that's okay, just to clarify the numbers in the first instance.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you, Councillor Crichton, for the question. I think I would have to take that question away and just do a bit further, deeper dive into the data over the 2 years, if that's okay. But what I would reflect on at this moment is it would very much depend on the value of the overall work and the breakdown of those contracts within it. So there would be, a significant difference in the contracts in any given year, and there is, significant contracts that have been undertaken last year locally, particularly in the capital programme in relation to the construction of new schools, etc., where a significant proportion of that work will be delivered locally, and that will be reflected in the figure. But we'd need to do a deeper dive, particularly over that period, just to draw out any particular concerns that there are.
Thanks very much, Paul. Does that answer your question, Michael?
Yeah, if Paul could get back to me, that'd be great. And as I say, it's just to find out why. It might not be right or wrong. It's just that percentage drop is quite striking on the page. So it would be great to find out off table.
One thing I would observe is the local construction spend is more or less doubled with regards to that. So it's quite a substantial spend with the major projects we're actually doing within the city. So I'm sure Paul will get that detail back to you. Councillor Roan, please.
Thanks very much, Convener. Paul Thompson's actually said a lot of what I was going to say, but I just want to thank officers for all their hard work on this, because I believe that the spend in the local area is significantly higher than in comparator councils. It's a very good benchmark that we've hit. And just commenting on that drop, it is a very high percentage that we've got, as I say, compared to what I believe is in other areas. So that's going to be hard to keep up, and it is reflected by the specific capital projects that we're doing year on year. So it will fluctuate, but essentially we set a very high benchmark for ourselves that I hope we can continue to get in the same ballpark. But these high figures in local spend are obviously having a massive impact on local communities. They're generating employment opportunities and they're keeping that spend local. So again, just want to thank officers for all the hard work they've done in this area.
Thanks very much. I'm sure your comments are much appreciated. Can I maybe bring in Rachel just to give some background to the community wealth and how we're actually performing locally within Dundee, within Scotland as well?
Yes, thanks very much, and thanks for the question. Yeah, the local spend figures, I think, is it's kind of the accumulation. I think we've been focusing on local spend now probably for about 12 years or so in the community benefit programme, and I think that we're beginning to really see the results of that and some of the spend figures that we have. Having said that, it's not something that is something we continue to focus on. There is a particular bump in this year and last year, and that's because of East End Campus. The way that we procured East End Campus allowed us to mandate local spend figures as part of the tender process. That isn't always possible and isn't possible on kind of direct tenders. So again, we're expecting that probably it will come down next year, but it'll still be high in relation to other comparable councils. And just to say, Councillor Rome, we don't have the figures yet for the other councils, but last year we were third, only behind kind of the Highlands and Orkney. So I think we do kind of punch above our weight with this, but I think that you will see that at East End campus was a lot of work, a lot of focus to ensure that a lot of those subcontracts went locally. So you would expect to see that figure changing in the future, but relative to other councils, I would anticipate it would still be quite high.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I think it just confirms the fact that we've invested that £100 million in the new campus as well, and that's obviously a major investment by the city into our education stock. I see no further questions or comments. I'll take that report as agreed. Thank you. Veronica, please.
Thank you, Convener. Item number 4, procurement of a contract for mobile work, scheduling and repair software. This report is for approval.
It's quite a straightforward report with a normal tender. Any comments or questions? I don't see any, so we'll just take that report as agreed. Thank you. Next one, Veronica, please.
Thank you. Item 5, sourcing strategy and award of contract for an online school payment system. This report again is for your approval.
Again, the report presents a summary of sourcing strategy and the supply of an online payment system. And I don't see any comments or questions to that, so I'll just take that report as agreed. I think that's the business for this evening, Veronica. That's correct.
Sorry, I couldn't get my microphone on. Yes, that's correct. That's all the business.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye.
Good evening. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Bye.